Alright guys, so here's the review of the Borealis Bull Shark version 2. So I never checked out the version 1 of this, but this is going to be like the first Borealis I'm actually checking out on the channel. So got a nice little package here with the Borealis branding on. It's actually cushioned as well. It's a nice little case. You can also use it as a little travel case as well, which is always handy. So we've got the watch in here. Quickly show you what else I've got in here. Not a lot, it's just the warranty card, which is actually dated, which is good. You got 12-month warranty on it. And then we've just got the links I've taken out. So to get it to fit my 7-inch wrist, I've had to take out 4 links. They are actually screw links as well. So always good to see. But we'll pop all this to one side and get right down to the watch. And here's the actual watch. So before we get into this, I just want to quickly talk about some of the controversy that's been going around at the moment with Borealis and reviews. So as you guys know, I'm going to keep my reviews 100% honest no matter what. So I was actually sent this watch for free, full disclosure. I did actually also agree to let them check out the video before I post it, which I don't normally do, but they said this was just to check the quality of the video, not the actual content. So I agreed on that basis. So we'll see whether they actually let me post this review, because I'm going to say up front, it's not going to be a 100% glowing review. I'm going to point out the positives and the negatives of this watch. So we'll see whether Borealis do stick to what they said, and they do let me publish this review with negatives involved. But that out of the way, let's get down to the review. So let's go over the dimensions. So we've got a diameter of 38.1, thickness of 12.8, lug width of 20, then the all-important lug to lug is 47, but this is where one of the first issues comes in with this watch for me. So we have actually got female end links, but with the way they've done this, effectively, it wears more like an actual male end link, because it doesn't actually go flat, and you can see it protrudes past the end of the case. So the effective lug to lug is closer to 50.9. Yes, it does curve down. It's not completely straight or flat, but I don't really know why they've done it like that. It's a bit of an odd choice, because it kind of defeats the point of having female end links, because it will not drop straight down. I'll quickly bring in the Proxima that I reviewed recently just to show you the difference, in case you're not entirely sure what I'm on about. So this Proxima has also got female end links, but as you can see, they do actually drop down straight away. So the end of the case is in line with the bracelet, but unfortunately, with the way Borealis have done it on this one, it just sticks out, and it's a little bit strange. So seeing as we've touched on it already, let's talk about the rest of this bracelet. So I'll actually talk about the case as well. You can see we've got drilled lugs there, which is always a nice touch. It's fully brushed bracelet with polished ends, well, sides. Clasp, you've got the Borealis branding. It's a milled clasp, chamfer details, which is nice. Plenty of micro adjust, so sizing isn't an issue at all. Then we've got fold over, double pushers and the fold over. Milled clasp. Then I'll quickly show you this case back, because it is quite nice. So we've got a nice mermaid design there, and then we've got some specs around the outside. So Borealis Watch Company, Bull Shark, 9015 automatic. That's because it's got the Miyota 9015. And then 300 meter water resistant, and it is a screw down case back, solid end links as you'd expect. You can see we've got a nice sign crown there with the Borealis B. When it comes to the rest of the case, it's a brushed case, polished chamfered edge. The end links do integrate fairly nicely, bar that issue I've already mentioned, not loose or anything. We've got high polish on the edge of that bezel, plenty of grip there too. So let's quickly zoom out and talk about that bezel a bit more. So it's a ceramic bezel insert, and it's a 120 click bezel. Pretty nice action. Perhaps a touch light for my liking, but no play in it at all, which is always good. When it comes to alignment, quickly zoom back in again. You'll see that mine is ever so slightly off to the left. but I'm talking ever so slightly. When you're actually wearing it, you don't really notice. You have to be zoomed right in. It is that slight. But I just thought I'd point it out. So you might be thinking, is this watch original or is it an homage? So according to Borealis on their site, they say it's inspired by the Rolex Submariner 6538. But obviously with this one, I've got snowflake hands, so it's probably more like a Tudor. So they actually have a few different variations with this watch. You can get it with Mercedes hands, snowflake hands. Obviously you can get different colour dials, different dial textures. Because with this one, I don't know how well it's going to come up on camera, but I'll chuck in some macro anyway. It's kind of like a frosted kind of effect. Quite subtle, but I do like it a lot. With other dials, they have different finishes. And again, as I said, different colours. I think you can get some different bezel colours as well. And obviously, with the date window, that will be colour matched depending on the colour of the dial, which is always a nice touch. And I do appreciate that they've got the date window down at the 6 o'clock, definitely my preferred position. If you're not keen on them, though, you can actually get this watch with a no date version. Again, that will vary depending on which colours and styles and handsets, etc. Link will be down in the description, so you can check them all out. But it is nice that they give you the option of having date or no date. Another really nice option as well, if you do go with the no date, you'll get a different movement. So with this one, this comes with the Miyota 9015, so that's the date specific version. And then if you go for the no date, they have the no date specific version, which is the 9039. So again, nice attention to detail. So when it comes to those indices, you've got applied indices with nice silver surround on, high polish, so they'd catch the light nicely. Same with those hands as well, really nice proportions on those two. And then just the Borealis printed below the 12, automatic, and then the water resistance just above that date window. Let's quickly zoom out and let's talk about the movement in a bit more detail. So as I said, we've got the sign crown, which is a nice size, screw down. Pop it out once, and change the date. Pop it out again, second hand stops, you got hacking. Then obviously you can just change the time. Pop it back in, second hand re-engages. Hand winding, nice and smooth, no issues there. And easy to screw back down as well. Really smooth operation, no issues at all. When it comes to the crystal on this, we've got a ever so slight dome crystal. We'll check now whether it's sapphire, using the trusty diamond selector too. And yep, we have got sapphire crystal, which you kind of expect, but it is nice that it's there. When it comes to that crystal, they say they've got AR on the underneath of it, and it does seem to work pretty well. Definitely reducing the glare from the lights I've got in here quite a bit. But now, let's check out what the lume's like. So you can see we've got quite a bit there already, but let's charge it up, give it a fair chance. And there we go. So, although it's coming up as green at the moment, you can see it was actually blue before. The camera will probably adjust in a second, because it is actually BGW9 on this. So it should be that ice blue kind of colour. And there's plenty of it. You can see even around the hands that it's glowing that much, it's lighting up part of the dial underneath it. Really nice, really impressive lume. So, fully lumed bezel as well, which is always a nice touch. And it's done nicely as well. It's not like a token gesture of lume. It lasts a good amount of time on there as well. So really consistent across the hands and the indices. Obviously the bezel is going to fade slightly quicker than that, but there's not a great deal in it. And as I say, it does last a really good amount of time. If I was being a bit nitpicky, if they wanted to go the extra mile, they could have loomed that date wheel maybe. But then obviously if they're going to be colour matching different ones for different dial colours, that might be a little bit awkward to do. But definitely would have been a nice touch on this white dial option. But it's not something you see a lot often. And as I say, really good loom on this. You can see it's died down a little bit, but it's still, around the hands especially, you've got a glow all the way around the outside of them. Almost kind of like a lightsaber effect almost. I know, a little bit nerdy, but if you know, then you know. So you definitely won't be disappointed with the loom on this. So you're probably wondering, how much is all this going to cost you? So it's going to be about $550, which works out to about £444, about €504. Yes, it's not cheap. Obviously, I tend to review a lot of AliExpress watches, which tend to be on the far more budget end. But with Microbrands, you're obviously going to be paying a little bit more. That's just the way it's going to be. They're not producing as much like mass production wise. AliExpress, they tend to produce in a lot of numbers, sell in bulk. That's how they make their money. Microbrands, not so much. So they're always going to be a little bit more. But the question is, do you think this is good value for money? Overall, I think it's a pretty nice package. Obviously it's got some issues, but we'll talk about them more in a second when I show you what it's like on wrist. So this is what it looks like on my 7-inch wrist. And I think it does look good. Getting the right size, not an issue at all. Plenty of micro adjust there, so you get the perfect fit. And I do love the way the light catches those high polished bits around the indices and on the hands. And obviously that subtle texture to the dial you will see in certain lights on, not so much in others. Again, the high polish on the edge of the bezel, catching the light, those polished chamfer details. It is a good looking piece. When it comes to these slightly odd end links, with my wrist, it doesn't really matter too much, not really that noticeable. If you've got a smaller than 7-inch wrist, however, that could be an issue. It could sit a little bit funny. Again, if you're a bigger guy, not going to be an issue again. If Borealis do come out with a version 3 of this, that's definitely the one thing they need to sort out. Because that female end link is just a little bit weird the way it's done. It's more or less basically just like a male one. Other than that ever so slight misalignment on the bezel, that's pretty much it though. Otherwise, it's a really good piece. Great loom, lovely textured dial. Sizing, brilliant, plenty of micro adjust as I say. Really nice case back design as well. Yeah, the case is a little bit flat. Could do with a little bit more curvature maybe, but that's because the watch it's based on. It's basically an homage of sorts, albeit with quite a few little tweaks here and there to make it their own. So I guess the main thing it comes down to is price. Do you think this is a good price for what you're getting? You're getting the high beat movement, you're going to get the date or no date specific one depending on which one you go for. Got an option of hands, different dial textures, different colours. So I do think it's a good package, albeit with a couple of little issues. And if you're interested in picking one up, link will be down in the description as always. But that's it for this one guys, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.